Pursuant to the provisions of Metro Code 2.68.030, take notice that the decisions of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville, Davidson County Community Review Board may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law writ of certiorari. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the board. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that the time and procedural requirements are met. Our secretary is absent, but I will take note that we have 4 members present, and that constitutes a quorum. The first matter is approval of the minutes, which I take it everyone has had a chance to look at. Any corrections or omissions?
I think I noticed a correction on the date. It had December 23rd and I think it was intended to be December 24th. I mean, December of 2023.
Okay. Other than the correction of the date, then, any other? Okay. You have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're down now to the chair remarks, and I'm a little, our chair unfortunately had a last-minute conflict, and so was not able to attend, but she left me some suggestions for remarks, and I think the main thing that's on all of our minds at this point is where we are on the MOU, and we'll have a report on that later, but I think it is critical that we keep, as they say, the pedal to the metal on trying to get that done, and I know my object or effort is, and hers, are to try to have something that hopefully the board can vote on by the next meeting. And so I think we need to keep that in mind, and certainly like to appreciate the board's, express the board's appreciation for Councilman Stiles for her support on the sexual misconduct at the last council meeting. That's something that this board has worked on long and hard, and I think we have an excellent report for the consideration of the police department and for the and actually for consideration even beyond the police department. Sexual misconduct is not limited to any one agency. It can happen anywhere and everywhere, and we need to make sure that we have appropriate policies to make it clear what sexual misconduct is, how it can be reported, and that there are effective methods to investigate claims to determine their validity, and if their validity, to take remedial action. So certainly appreciate the support from council. We'll get an update also on the MOU matters, and hopefully we'll get making progress on that. Again, as I said, hopefully we can get something to vote on next month. And likewise, we're working on the bylaws, and which while we have a makeshift set of bylaws, we do need to get them updated, and our legal counsel can hopefully update us on that when we get to it in the order of business. Are there any public comments at this time? Okay, seeing none then. Executive Director's report.
Okay. My report will be short this month because we are actually talking about a lot of the information under the board discussion. I did want to update the board on the sexual misconduct press conference. You kind of alluded to it and touched base, but we wanted to thank the partners that were there, which was Silent No Longer, NOAA, and the Women's Caucus of the Metro Council. They worked really hard to support us, and that was a really excellent, I think, decision that they made to move forward with the resolution. And so we appreciate each council member that voted to support that. And I also want to say that now we're working towards the implementation of that policy. So that's still on our minds, and what's next. We will, I don't know yet. I'm going to meet with our chair and some of our community to figure out like what the next steps are to work with the police department for implementation. We have interviewed two people. We have 2 vacancies in the compliance monitors, which is our new term for our investigators. And so we did those interviews today. They went really well, and I'm looking forward to making some offers to those people. So that was a really good thing. We had, you guys, if you looked in your file, or I'm sorry, in your email, you would have received the new statistical report. And so that's, that information should be in there. It may not be updated with the most, because they've been working through it. The heat maps they weren't on there because Dylan has been ill and he's been out of the office. And so our lead researcher created a chart or a timetable or some kind of table that showed you the zip codes of where the complaints are coming in. We've received 10 complaints, legitimate complaints, since our last board meeting. And so the numbers keep rising. We've had a lot of calls. We had over 50 contact calls this month. And so the public is still, once, I guess, because we are making our presence known a little stronger on social media and out in the community. And so we're very happy that people are utilizing our services. And we have a lot of community events coming up too, where we're sharing and educating the public on what it is that we do. And I wanted to share some of that with you, just in case you are interested. I know that Chairperson Brown showed up to an event that we had postponed, and so that event has been kind of repurposed. And so on October the 4th, we'll be at the Casey Cookout at Stratford and Martha O'Brien. October the 5th, from 10 to 6, we'll be at the Celebration of Nashville, the Cultural Festival. And I believe that's in Centennial Park. And so that will incorporate a lot of cultures from across the city. October the 19th, from 10 to 1, we'll be at the Stop the Bullying Walk at Hadley Park. And then on October the 26th, from 11 to 3, we will be at the North Nashville Bash at the Urban Housing Solutions. And so we also wanted to note to you all, and I'll send that information to you so you have it and you can put on your calendar. We would definitely like for board members to be present. Last year, most of the staff took part in the Salvation Army Tree Initiative. This year, we want to extend, if you all are interested, they have children, and they also have seniors that the Salvation Army is working with, and we have done both. We've also been trying to work towards some type of Thanksgiving event, like maybe serving at a local either rescue or doing something. I don't know what yet. We're planning it, a turkey giveaway, something that we want to do from the Community Review Board. So we'll keep you informed on that. And then also that event that we had postponed at Hartman Park for last month will be postponed until November the 2nd. So we would like for you all to participate. It is the NCRB Fall Festival at Hartman Park Community Center on November the 2nd. I also wanted to acknowledge that member Wynn was the recipient of a award through the White House. And so I wanted to give him opportunity to talk about that. We appreciate the work that you've done. in domestic violence. And,
Thank you, Director Pitchford. It was the 30th anniversary of the enactment of the Violence Against Women Act in 1994, which President Biden, when he was a senator, actually wrote the bill. And it was a gathering of people who worked in the field for years. So we all gathered and had 2 days of panel discussions, and all met at the White House, got a chance to see the president and all of his staff, and I represent Nashville. I think I may be the only one there, I think, but I invited everybody to come see us and have our hot chicken and listen to our music. So we'll see if they take me up on it.
right. Well, we thank you for the work that you've
Sure,
done.
thank you.
Appreciate you. And then also I wanted to acknowledge that our chair, she's not here. She has just been appointed as the executive director of Neighbor to Neighbor. And so we want to wish her well on her first day of work. And we look forward to working with her in that capacity as well. I also wanted to say that we're thankful that Commander Laura's present today as well. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have. We've been doing really well in our new space. I think everyone is happy to be in a space that's conducive to working, continued learning, and building together as an agency. So, yeah. And NACO's coming up. I forgot to mention that. And we will be going to that conference. Just so that you all know, I have applied for board membership. And so we'll see what happens with that. I was approached to do that, and so I accepted that challenge. And so we shall see what happens. I'll keep you posted. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the executive director's report. Any questions?
Any questions for the director?
Yes, you was talking about the person I was planning on hiring. You narrowed down to 2 people. So what does it look like to finalize that between the 2, the final evaluation of?
Yeah, we had 2 positions available, and we had, I want to say there was maybe 20, altogether there's like 50 applicants, okay? I think 80 people applied, 50 were maybe qualified, and then they categorized people in the 90s and 80s. We interviewed, I want to say 6 to 8 people, something like that. Was it 6? Was it 8? It was a lot. Anyway, it was in that. And so we narrowed it down to the top 3, and we interviewed them in person today. And I think that we're waiting on some reference checks. And so I think that we may have 2 excellent candidates.
So after reference check, so we're probably looking at sometime in October or November.
Yeah, I think that though they're employed, have to give their notice. So I would say sometime like the first part of October, hopefully. And then if we're gone for a week at NACO, it'll probably be that 3rd week.
I don't, this might come as in the form of a question or a suggestion, but have we thought about, like, in the new space, maybe doing some type of open house or something like that for the public?
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe in December, we could have an open house and a little like meet and greet, and I'm not going to say cocktail hour because, it is the government, but just something where we could have that, as we move into the new year. So, yeah, we're planning that as well. Yeah. And then I wanted to say that, we have Attorney Frank Brazil representing us. He has been assigned to us now permanently. Welcome. We thank you for being here. And, yeah, that's all I have. Any questions, Chair? Okay.
Next item on the agenda is an update for the section establishment policy.
Okay, I can start with that. So like I said, the Criminal Justice Task Force of NOAA and Silent No Longer, some other members of the community, we all work together and with Councilmember Stiles, who led this process for us. And we were at the last council meeting, which was last Tuesday. And Silent No Longer talked about the complaints that they have received over the course of a few years, which I think it's up to, I want to say 90 maybe different complaints. It was 92, I believe. Yeah, it was a big day, and it was a big victory. And I thought that our report was excellent quality. We have been talking about the report. We appreciate Member Wynn's work on the report and connecting us with the right people. And so I think that this process has been really helpful. I know that the police department has stated that they have a zero tolerance policy. There are some gaps in their policy and our policy. We provided them with a comparison chart. And although they made a good effort, I just don't think that it was robust enough for what the complaints were coming in. And so I'm hoping that they will take the time to read that policy and with our assistance, if needed, think about how we can implement that to protect not only citizens, but also those who are within the police department who feel like they need some additional support. So that's pretty much all I have on the sexual misconduct report.
Have we gotten any feedback at all from the police department other than that they've got it?
Not yet. The mayor's office did send something, and let me read that to you. It was it came from Ms. Wilson, who is the COO. And she said, "Thank you for sharing. Please know that we are grateful for the considered efforts that went into this by you and your team, as you and I have discussed. She wants to share it with Metro HR for their review against the civil service policies and considering the opportunities for all Metro employees to benefit from this as well." And then Mayor O'Connell and all of them are waiting for the review, and then they'll be sure to facilitate any questions or follow up as needed. So, and then they said some other things. And then it says, and look to their analysis for even greater opportunity for this work to have impact on Metro.
So did I hear you right that Metro HR was looking at this for all the departments in government?
Yes. Yes, and Metro HR, they showed up at the, someone from Metro HR showed up at the public forum as well.
Well, if that's true, then Nashville will be the first city, I think, to take a sexual misconduct policy and apply it to all employees of the city. So that would be that'd be a big deal for our city to brag to the rest of the country how innovative we are and how much we feel about zero tolerance of sexual misconduct. So I'm hoping that the mayor and the city council push ahead, and police department enacts it, and they be the first, and then maybe fire department next, and roads and public works next. So I'm excited about it. It's good news. Thank you.
It is good news. I'm excited about it as well. Thank you so yeah, we'll see. When I hear something back, I'll let you guys know.
I think it really depends on the top administration in Metro government, in different departments, how they will look at this and how it will mean to their department. And if they got a good sight on it and they feel good about it, it will probably be history for this city, for the department to all work under the same condition, on the same law, which wouldn't be a bad idea. But the police department, believe it or not, they're like this: if it ain't broke, don't fix it, So that's their attitude about it. I don't know if Commander agree with me or not, but that's the attitude I've seen myself,
Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
Nothing else, one of our hot topics, our legal counsel can update us on our MOU negotiations and where we are, and hopefully can we make something we can vote on the next board meeting. I got to remember to turn on my mic. Sorry about that.
Sure. And let me first begin by saying that in 4 days from today, we have an agreement, September 27th, Friday, to circulate, and this is both myself and also counsel for the police department. That's Cindy Gross, to circulate updates to the proposed draft. And Member Goddard and myself will be working to make sure that what we put forward captures everything that we covered in our discussion. And they're really the first round where Executive Director Fitchard was present with us represented to me something very hopeful, because our two biggest guiding concerns, both to the definition of what is a case file and what we're entitled to, and also to whether or not we will be given priority and not be put in line with the rest of any routine records, public records request. Both of those issues we prevailed on, and it was represented to us that that won't be a problem. So moving forward, it's really changing the nuts and bolts of several other provisions, and also incorporating what was provided to us by Metro Legal as an attachment to their proposal, which breaks out the different types of records. And they wanted it spelled out so that we can clearly reference in our MOUs moving forward what is what. So we intend to do that and have it circulated September 27th. Now, October 28th is our next board meeting, Monday, October 28th. Our round two, and what we hope to be the final round of MOU negotiations, is Tuesday, October 22nd. It is my intention to request, and I don't anticipate pushback, that we agree to do whatever we need to do, both sides, counsel for both sides, to come to the table on October 22nd ready to ink an agreement. I think that would mean that the board could vote the following Monday, and it's much needed that we have this in place to continue to do this work. And I'm hopeful that that counsel for our police department feels the same. So that's our update, and happy to answer any questions if there are any.
I've got to remember to push the red button. That certainly sounds optimistic, and hopefully we can get it done. If by chance there's some snag, I think we should consider perhaps having a special board meeting the next month in November to vote on it if we run into some problems to getting a final vote, because I think it's critical that we get that done, and I think it would be worth a special meeting. So just from my standpoint, keep that in mind. That let's certainly hope we get it done next month, but if not, let's keep in mind not to go off a whole another month, but consider a special board meeting.
Absolutely.
My hope is that we would get this done. It's been, we would have been in existence in October for a year, and we've been operating without a MOU. And, one of the things is, just, of course, like us getting our structures together, but as well, just, getting in order to move forward on some of these cases, we have to have the body-worn camera footage. And we have to have not only the body-worn camera footage, just like, when we just send an email asking about a particular case and what's happened with it, or when did an officer, because the way that it's written is once an officer has the timeline doesn't begin until the officer is notified. So, as I'm trying to reconcile our timelines, I don't know if an officer has been notified, whether or not he's been called in and said that he has a complaint. And so we've been asking for that documentation as well. I will say that Commander Starling and I have been in communication. He's reached out so that he can also get he wants a, what did he call it, Dr. Risby? He wanted a case referral, and just so that we can kind of reconcile our numbers and see. And so we're working on that. I am going to try to meet with him and, go over some of the case stuff and see where they are on those cases. And Dr. Risby, she did, I sent it to her and she completed that. So this is something that I can show you all and make copies for you if you need it. So that we just are on the same page, because right now, we still have cases that are getting extensions for body-worn camera footage all the way to December. And although we were in the MOU negotiations and they explained how long that process takes because they don't have enough staff, I think that's why it's critical that we have an opportunity either with the district attorney general or within the police department to get this stuff, so we're not waiting, 3 to 6 months for a piece of body-worn camera footage that they have already clipped and have access to, and it's in arms. Or either giving us the opportunity to review it or what. We need to get the body-worn camera footage if there's footage available. So I don't want to wait any longer than October.
On the cases that been closed by the OPA, are they still a little niggling about sending those cases over to you, or are they still slow walking you in that manner?
No, they're sending those cases, the ones that are closed, and we'll talk about a couple of them this evening. But yeah, those are coming. When I close because of, I'm not going to say it's complicated, but although they may close a case, for us, it may be that the case needed some extra information to be done. But if a complainant is not responding, they can, just like we close a case. If we tried to reach a person for a month, four phone calls and emails and letters, then we have to move forward, so.
Well, time factor play an important role, and they play on the sympathy of the victim. The longer they wait, the less chance they come forward in pursuing the case. And I've seen it happen many times in trial cases, They keep continuing, the people get burnt out, coming back and forth. So then I just give up on it. I'm through with it,
Right.
So
Yeah, because they have to take off from work and all that kind of stuff. I understand that totally.
One question, if I understand it correctly, part of the delay on the body-worn cameras is some editing of it. If we identify the officers involved, is our MOU going to allow us then, or is there some way we can get an agreement that they can provide the raw footage without going through the editing process? That seems to be the biggest holdup due to lack of staff and stuff. But, as I understand it, we've got a way for them to transmit those things to the board or to the director, and obviously it's kept confidential, but it's some way that we don't have to wait. We need either some way to get it unredacted or to get quicker redactions. That seems to be a real hang-up. Frank?
Agreed. It is a hang-up, and we've discussed the possibility, and I believe it'll be incorporated, that the timeline will be triggered immediately so that they can go ahead and provide at least enough for us to then make a follow-up request instead of waiting for complete redactions on what they would classify as a voluminous request. If we know what we're talking about and we know that there were 3 officers involved, perhaps we can get one expedited officer's camera footage quicker than we would with the entire request that needs to go through the redactions. And so that's something that we're optimistic, and we're hearing from our first round, they understood the need, and it wouldn't be an obstacle to incorporate something that allowed us to get that.
Because generally there's 1 or 2 recordings that are key, and the rest of it's interesting but not critical.
Correct, and we can work together to make sure that we're narrowly tailoring our request, especially with an agreement that whatever it is we do send across is going to be given priority and instantly responded to.
Okay. The 51-page complaint. 61, I'm sorry. Old eyes.
So on the 61-page complaint, I haven't spoken to the attorneys for several months. So I reached, I think it was July, the last time that we had a conversation. I've reached out to them a couple of times, and I haven't heard back from them. I heard back once about the time frame in August. So I reached out in August to set something up because we met with them in July. So in August, I reached out again just to say, hey, what's happening? How's everything? Is there anything that we can do? Do you need our assistance with anything? And they responded, and they wanted to meet like that week, but I was going on vacation, so I couldn't do it. And I said, well, maybe the first or second week of September, but we still haven't heard back from them. I think that Alicia also reached out, or Chair Haddock, and they responded that they wanted to meet on a time that it wasn't, it wasn't a good time. I wasn't back from out of town, and she wanted to wait. And so I haven't heard from them. I'll reach out to them this week so that we can get something set up for next week, hopefully. I mean, their offices is, in Memphis, but they do have an office here. And even if we can't meet with, the lead, we should be able to meet with someone, because I want to say 2 of them are in Memphis and at least 1 is here in our city. So that was, it was a little discouraging that we haven't had this, communication. But, I mean, we'll just have to try to get on the schedule. And that's the only update that I have.
I realize you've got a lot of other duties and everything, but on some of this, is it possible to have our assistant director sit in? Or because it looks like we lost a month because you were unavailable. And
Right. I wouldn't say we lost a
I mean,
month.
that's the idea of having a backup.
That's correct. She was brand new. Alicia could have met with them, but she didn't want to alone. I don't think it worked for her schedule as well. It was, during school. And they wanted to, when I called them, they wanted to meet like the next 2 days after we called and talked. So, yeah. So, yes, we can definitely utilize anyone who wants to meet with them. It doesn't have to be me, but they also have to, they have to work with someone's schedule as well.
Yeah, and possibility of having our legal counsel meet with them.
That might work as well.
Now that we've got him officially on, and I take it all the paperwork's signed on the contract.
It is in place, and I'd be happy to, although I will say, a possible explanation for this is that Butler Snow's attorneys are conducting what they are calling a truly independent investigation.
Correct.
So it would be irregular for them to, and I don't want to use the wrong word, it'd be irregular for them to pursue updates with anyone. So if there is any reluctance for them to meet, that would be understood. I'm happy to reach out if that's the wishes of the board.
No, I think if they don't want to provide anything, they're well within their rights. But
Sure.
it sounded like they were willing to give us something, and we just didn't get it scheduled. So, but they're certainly within their right, as you point out, to tell us that they'll let us know if they need anything, and we'll get the report when they get everybody else. But it sounded like they were willing to give us something, so I don't want to let it slip.
Absolutely. What I will do is reach out and see if we can schedule a meeting for an update.
Yeah, I mean,
They wanted to meet
be a
because
telephone, or it doesn't have to be a formal meeting, just
Right.
sort of a little bit of an update.
Right, that is something that they agreed to because initially when Butler and Snow, when Attorney Stanton was hired, there was some concern within the community about his connection being appointed by or selected or hired by Metro Legal. And so we met and they were willing to meet. When we're meeting, they're not telling, of course, they're not going to give us any information about the case. They just want to hear our concerns, basically. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But the community was very concerned about it. They still voice concerns about it and so that's why it's on the agenda because, we've heard from people like what's going on with this investigation. And so, I don't have a problem with Attorney Brazil reaching out to them.
I think just getting an update of, to the
Yeah.
extent they can provide us some information. Obviously, it's a complicated and lengthy complaint, and it's not going to be done by any law firm that's doing a competent investigation is not going to get it done in a month or so. It's complicated. So,
Yes, I agree.
It sounds like we've got a plan to update us a little bit on it. And let somebody,
Yeah, Judge, I was wondering, is there a conflict for them to advise us not in public view about what their progress is? And if there is a conflict, if someone else could see it as a conflict, they're not advising anybody else out of the public view, then why don't we invite them to do a summary before the board in front of the cameras for the public to see?
I think that would be something that would be best left to our council to have a discussion
Okay.
with them. And
Well,
see
they
where
have agreed
are.
to do that as
Yeah.
well, so,
And
yeah.
then, if they would be willing to come before the board for an update, that would be great. I would be a little surprised if they did.
They agreed to it. They said-
I'm sure they would, make some kind of arrangement to meet with you, but, they're not gonna let the cat out of the bag, be simple, be honest with you
Yeah,
about it.
they're not giving us.
If they have a
information.
clue of what's really going on, there might be one person in mind that have some idea of the direction they're going in, and that's the mayor. And as far as anybody else, they just gonna be closed mouth about it until they get a final, investigation on it. That's how I see it.
I don't think it's a date limit. Okay.
Director Fisher said they agreed to come before the board. Is there, with that agreement, is it within a specific amount of time, or is it just as requested?
No, when we first met with them, they were very hospitable and, they understood the complexity of this investigation and the complaints. They understood the concern of the communities that were impacted, as well as, I think Chair Haddock laid it out really well when she talked about the allegation as it pertained to the Community Oversight Board and the potentiality of officers being involved with the dissolution of, or the abolishment of the Community Oversight Board, something that, remember, that the voters voted for. And so they wanted to make certain that the community was reassured in knowing that they were going to do a fair and impartial but independent investigation. We weren't asking them to provide us any specifics about the investigation, but we did want to make certain that they were aware that people in the community had some concerns about, the process, and wanted to be notified of what was happening, because this is a public safety issue, and these are residents of this community. And so, yeah, so they said that they would come, whatever they needed to do to let people know that they were doing this independent from Metro Legal or from the mayor's office, and that they were doing their job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Whistleblower policy update.
So we had a whistleblower policy it was sent to me from the Lamplighter Project. It's a whistleblower policy that they have used throughout the nation for departments that want to have a whistleblower policy enacted. And so I met with one of our council members, Jeff Pepperton. I always say his name wrong. Jeff Pepperton. I gave him that policy and talked to him about, working through it and creating some type of legislation for a whistleblower policy. Of course, there's some federal guidelines related to whistleblower policy, but this would be specific towards the police department. It may end up being one of these things as well that the whole Metro government will use it. But we know for certain that there are officers within the police department who feel like that if they come forward with certain types of complaints, that there could be some retaliation, intimidation, and things of that nature. And so he has something else out there working on it, and then I believe that we were going to meet soon to kind of like rehash where we are with that policy. It wasn't a lot to it. It was pretty straightforward, and it was, I want to say like maybe, the policy was like maybe a page, 2 pages, you know, with very specific items on it. And of course, you know, he's, you know, was working to like make it a little more meatier. But that's all that I have on that. And I haven't talked to him about it in several months, probably since July.
Any questions? I think I skipped over the
Case closures, we'll go back to
case
those.
closures.
We can finish
Let
this.
me ask, let's take up the rules and bylaw, then I'll
Okay.
come back to that. So rules and bylaws, where are we on that?
Well, I can speak briefly to rules and bylaws. It was circulated to me recently, a copy of our rules and bylaws as they exist, with a few areas that have been identified that need reworking. I also have a copy as of April 24, 2024 that's redlined, and there are comments. There's a conflicting provision that needs removal and other things, but I need to I believe it's Member Witzel, maybe, that has a copy of something that I need, so we can identify what's next and rework them.
Right, because there was a
He
draft
doesn't
at one
know
point,
if,
there
do
was a
you have,
draft
he
at
doesn't
one
know if he
point
has it with
done
him. Oh, sorry.
by Metro Legal back, I think you referred to it. And so we've got an update or, okay?
Well, I think that let me just put some context
Please.
on there. So when we had the last board bylaws and rules meeting, the only people that were there, because Mr. Holloway was on vacation, it was Sean and I, Member Witzel and I. And we went over it, and I think that we had maybe two points in here that needed some updating. And I moved, and I don't know what my copy is. I saw it though last week, so I don't know exactly where it is. I had a bunch of junk. So once we get that, I'm gonna get it to Frank, and then also send it out to the board. It was 2 slight changes, and it was like maybe adding a word or just getting some clarification on a word. And so as soon as I get that, I'm gonna try to get that to you this week, Frank, so that we can go ahead. I mean, we need to move forward on these as quickly as possible. So if I can find those 2, just to make certain that we addressed everything that Member Witzel was concerned about, and myself, I will get that to you this week, and then we can, I guess the next step would be what? Walter, would it be to have a meeting in the month of October then?
Well, let's say this right here before we do that.
Okay,
When you make the correction, make sure I get a copy of it.
yes. We will.
Okay, no problem, but I had said at the last meeting that we would do it during our executive board meeting, but when I get to the board meeting, it's not on there.
It wasn't on the agenda?
But what we're gonna, it went on the agenda.
Okay,
Now, what we would like to do this time, we can do it in the October, executive board meeting, but let's move it up front.
okay,
So we can take care of it first,
okay.
and then I think we can cover a lot of ground.
Okay, we do that, and I'll get that to you. I'll try to get that to you this week. And if Sean, you can, or if not, we can just kind of go over it real quick. You have it?
I don't have it.
Okay, so we'll go over, yeah. I think I remember the sections.
Yeah. I think if those changes can be submitted to sent to
Yes.
Member Holloway's, he's chair of the committee, and he certainly needs to be kept more informed than the rest of us. But hopefully we can get that done, because we do need updated matters on that. So anything else on that then?
What's the date for the next month's executive board meeting?
The 28th executive meeting. That's the week before on that Wednesday. Hold on.
Yeah, okay, the 20.
It's the 23rd.
23rd, yeah.
All right.
Okay. I guess then let's move to what I skipped over inadvertently, to our reports.
Okay. I added one extra that we were able to get there, so you guys should have that one too. It would be 2024-036. And I sent it to you too. Could you, okay. We're starting with 21. I'm sorry, 22. Whichever one. 21 and 22. 2023-02022. Yes. She's putting it up there, okay. All right, so what we're presenting tonight are administrative closures. These are cases that we didn't have a process in place for administrative closures. We have that process in place now. And so these are cases that have been closed, some of them for several, for a while now. The letters have already went out to the complainants, but we want to make certain that we are bringing these to the board so that you guys can ask any questions if you have them, okay? And so I'm going to start with this is administrative closure CC 2023-022. The summary of complaint of allegations is on November 29th, 2023. Mr. Jason Butcher contacted the Nashville Community Review Board via web submission. The complainant stated that on 11/26/23 at approximately 1:15 p.m., his wife was involved in a motor vehicle accident with a hit-and-run driver. The non-emergency MMPD number was called, and the dispatcher informed the complainant that an officer would come to the scene. At approximately 3 p.m., an officer still had not arrived. The complainant called the non-emergency number a second time and was informed that a sergeant would give him a call. At approximately 3:45, the complainant called the non-emergency number a third time, and a tow truck arrived at the location and towed the complainant's vehicle away. The complainant and his wife left the location at that time. The complainant called the non-emergency number and spoke with the dispatcher, who informed him that he would need to call back between the hours of 3 and 9 on 11/29 to get a report. The complainant stated that he would call MMPD between those times and speak with the sergeant to obtain the report. The complainant stated he would contact the NCRB if further assistance was needed, and requested that his complaint be withdrawn. Initially, the policy violation was failure to provide service, but since this case, basically, the complainant wanted to close it, we closed the case. And so I wanted to make a correction on page 3 of 4 at Roman numeral 5. It should say compliance monitor findings. So there is a timeline included here. The review of OPA findings, not applicable. The compliance monitor findings is a referral was not sent to OPA due to the complainant withdrawing his complaint on 11/29/23. He stated he would reach back out to NCRB if he needed further assistance. The complaint was administratively closed on July 24th, 2024. So what happened was this case was open through intake. It should have, at the time, he didn't know whether or not he wanted to move forward. Once he got these calls and, he was, I guess, got frustrated, he called back and decided to withdraw his complaint. And so we administratively closed it. And so it was closed in our system, but not through the whole paper process. So that's why we are now seeing this now. So that's what the timeline will show you.
If I understand it, we've now got in procedures where we'll close this out because, the complaint's
Yes.
withdrawn in November of last year, and we're
Correct.
just now taking it off.
Yes, it was because we didn't have a procedure in place for the administrative closures. And then determining whether or not we really didn't think that we had to present them to the board at first. And then, we didn't have an attorney. I was like, well, yeah, I think we still should present these to the board. They're closed in our system, but I believe everything should come before the board. So that's why we did that. Just so that you guys can know that we had these.
If we're legally required to do it, I can certainly understand. But, when someone withdraws the complaint, it sort of seems it takes up a good bit of staff time to prepare the reports and then for the board to consider it. And
Well, I think the reason why I think this is important is two reasons. Because like we'll see further down in some of the other cases, this is very simple. This is a simple case. But it could be that OPA closes a case that we disagree with the closure. Not because the complainant has withdrawn his complaint, but because, there wasn't any, you'll see further along in some other cases that there could have been maybe some extra things done to maybe assist the complainant even further. So
Yeah, no,
we'll
I
figure it out.
certainly understand that. But it seems like one that's so open and shut. We should shut
Correct.
it quicker without going to the board.
Because I didn't send this over to the OPA, I wanted to do a procedure here, just so that we wouldn't have, because we're considering it a case, because it was issued a case number, it's not like I can withdraw the case numbers too, by the way.
Well, I
in
can
this old
understand if
system,
it's
so,
been sent to
yeah,
OP, or that we should probably do formally close it. But if it doesn't go there and it's withdrawn, it would seem to me that those don't need to come to the board.
okay. So this case, and I can move forward on this case was closed successfully. He received a letter, the forms and all the processes that we're doing, just in case we're audited as well. I wanted to make certain that we make certain that we have all the information in the system.
Well, it's a good idea that it goes through each step, because if it come back later on in court, it's like a paper trail. It showed the different phases that it went through, and these are some of the decisions that were made. And so that way we are really protected, saying that we did make a decision too. This is what we found out as well, and compare it with the police department, so it's just a couple of us.
Okay.
I like the idea of getting these because I think it's good for just more transparency and community education as they're learning about the process and what we do. So I'm thankful that we have this. Could you also, if you have it, let us know with each of these if a letter has gone out to someone, if they've responded in any type of way?
Oh, you mean?
With each of these closures, if you've gotten a response after the letters have gone out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you know. I can
Okay.
put that in there. Mhm.
Another possibility would be maybe to have an abbreviated report rather than going through, the policy and Metro, just shorten it down to a one page. But if there's no more discussion, is there a motion to approve? Second, or a motion first?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
unanimous, passed. Okay, next one.
We're moving on to CC 2024-021. The summary of complaint allegations is on February 15th, 2024. Ms. Cassie Patterson contacted the Nashville Community Review Board via web submission. The complainant stated that on February 15th, 2024, a marked MMPD vehicle with tag number 1335 GF was traveling on I-40 East. This vehicle was being driven by Officer Tyler Jordan. Complainant and Officer 1, that is Officer 1, were at a stop and sitting in traffic at exit 201. As they said, Officer 1 used his megaphone and shouted to the complainant, "Pay attention, what are you doing? If you can't keep up with the traffic, move out of the way." The complainant further stated that Officer 1 shouted at another driver regarding their brake lights. The complainant believed that Officer 1's conduct was unbecoming. The policy violation is out of the MMPD manual 4.20.040, adherence to policy and rules to wit 18.10 traffic enforcement. And then also manual conduct unbecoming, and then courtesy. I'm not going to read the timeline. It's available for your own review. The review of OPA findings is, according to OPA, the Detective Woosley, mediation was offered to the complainant and Officer 1. On 3/18 of 24, the complainant and Officer 1 accepted mediation. On 4/10 of 24, mediation was successfully completed by the involved parties. The compliance monitor findings was that On March 1st, 2024, Compliance Monitor Angela Williams contacted the complainant for follow-up regarding her complaint. While speaking with the complainant, it was revealed that OPA had not contacted the complainant. And then there's a host of timelines that goes through each one of the contacts that our office made. But I will say that on March 27th, the complainant contacted our compliance monitor to provide an update that mediation had been scheduled for April the 10th at 12. The officer involved and the complainant met at mediation. It was conducted by the Nashville Conflict Resolution Center. That was on April the 10th. The following day, April the 11th, the complainant reported that it was successful. And then there's some other information about how OPA and our compliance monitor, we were requesting information and how we weren't able to get the information that we requested. But on May 16th of 2024, we received an email from the OPA saying that the case was completed. We had records, and then a letter of closure was requested and submitted to myself, and all of that information was sent, and the case was closed because of successful completion of mediation.
Any questions? I would make one comment. I think this is the first one that I've seen that actually went to mediation, and hopefully we'll see more mediation. Again, this is one, I take it with new policy, we'll get it closed out quicker.
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Motion approved, excuse me, got my tongue tied. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously passed. Next.
The next one is CC 2024-040. The summary of complaint allegations is that on April 14th, 2024, Robert Morvant contacted the Nashville Community Review Board to file 2 complaints against his neighbor, Officer J. Armfield. The first complainant alleged that Officer 1 had both the complainant and his neighbor's vehicle illegally towed from their homes. The complainant further stated that it was his belief that the officer was receiving some form of compensation from the towing company for having the vehicles towed. Secondly, the complainant stated that Officer 1 used a drone to spy into the complainant's home while he was home with his family. After the drone incident, the complainant stated he felt that Officer 1's actions were unbecoming of a police officer. The complainant requested that Officer 1 be reprimanded for his actions. The policy violation that we found was conduct unbecoming of an employee of the department, and a discourtesy. The review of the OPA findings was that on April 30th of 2024, Sergeant Woosley attempted to find the identity of Officer 1, and he could not find an officer with his name in the RMS as an MMPD employee. On April 30th of 2024, Sergeant Woosley contacted the complainant and advised him that Officer 1 was not an employee of MMPD. The complainant was able to find information that led him to believe that Officer 1 was employed with the Adderville, Kentucky Police Department. OPA closed the case as a matter of record and required no further action. The compliance monitor findings was on May 6th of 2024. Our compliance monitor, Pillow, contacted the Adderville, Kentucky Police Department and spoke with Chief Ashby. Chief Ashby stated Officer 1 was no longer employed with his police department. His belief was that Officer 1 was employed with another police department in Kentucky, but was unsure of which department. On May 23rd of 2024, compliance monitor Pillow contacted the Kentucky Law Enforcement Council. Hold on one second. All right. On May 23rd, 2024, Compliance Monitor Pillow contacted the Kentucky Law Enforcement Council to seek assistance with locating Officer 1 with the intent of forwarding the complaint to his superiors. The contact was unsuccessful. On May 30th of 2024, the compliance monitor contacted the Louisville Civilian Review and Accountability Board to inquire about forwarding a complaint against an officer in the state of Kentucky. On June 3rd of 2024, the compliance monitor spoke with Ms. Hunter, the administrative coordinator for Louisville's Office of the Inspector General. Ms. Hunter stated because Officer 1 was not identified as being employed with the police agency in Louisville, there was not another agency in Kentucky to forward the complaint. On July 1st of 2024, Compliance Monitor submitted an administrative closure request form to the ED for review, and on July 2nd, it was approved. The administrative closure request was approved, and an official closure letter was sent to the complainant. The compliance monitor's conclusion was the complaint was closed as a matter of record by OPA due to Officer 1 not being identified as an employee of MMPD. The sergeant of OPA forwarded the complaint to Commander Lee Kendall of the West Precinct for further review and determination of criminal activity. To date, no further information has been received. The case was administratively closed due to the officer not being employed by MMPD. And that was it. It's successful. A successful closure.
Looks like the compliance monitor did everything could to locate the officer. I gather there's no request to a post of Kentucky that would indicate whether somebody's still active or not. But it clearly, unfortunately, it looks like outside our jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's outside of our jurisdiction, but it does go, I would say that the point here is that this person was an officer, but in another state. And then when he left that department, you know, that they didn't know exactly if he was employed by another department or where he was, so, yeah.
Certainly commend the compliance officer for making the valiant effort to track the individual down. But do I hear, unless there's questions, do I hear a motion to approve?
I would suggest that the Post Commission sits at Richmond at their state academy.
Where is it at?
It's in Richmond, Kentucky.
Richmond, okay.
And they would be more than happy, I would think, to just tell you whether he's a certified officer in Kentucky or not. But it sounds like to me it's a stalking case.
Yeah.
I mean, harassment.
Right.
And it's properly sent back to the precinct, I think. So.
That's probably why it was sent, to determine whether or not it was a crime being committed.
I'm good. So moved.
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, it passes. Next.
Next, we have CC 2024-049. The summary of complaint allegations is on May 28, 2024. Mr. Jason Cohen, now referred as the complainant, contacted the Nashville Community Review Board via in-person and web submission. The complainant stated that on May 28th of 2024 at approximately 9:14 a.m., he received a citation for failure to move over for an emergency vehicle. The complainant stated that during the event, he attempted to slow down. However, the officer slowed down to match his speed. At this time, the complainant passed another police vehicle and received the citation. The complainant stated that he believed the ticket he received was unfair. He further stated that there is a new speed trap set up between Harding Place and I-65 and claimed officers will do anything to pull over motorists. The complainant stated that he had a positive interaction with the officer, but found it strange that the officer prevented him from moving over and then issued him a citation for not moving over. The policy violation for that would be a courtesy. The compliance monitor findings is this. On May 29th, 2024, Compliance Monitor Amy Simmons spoke with the complainant, who stated that he received a traffic citation for the move over law. The complainant believed he was issued the citation unfairly and wanted it rescinded. The Compliance Monitor advised the complainant that the NCRB could not help him with a traffic issue related to the rescinding of a moving violation. The complainant was instructed to contact the courts as directed on the issue citation for further assistance. There was a administrative closure request completed, forwarded, and this case was closed. This case, of course, was not referred to OPA, as the complaint was regarding having a traffic citation rescinded. And there was no direct or specific concern or issues with an officer. That is the
Question?
end.
Oh, you got your mic on. All right. Is there a motion to approve?
Get a motion approved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. All right.
All right, we have one more.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. This is the one I gave you, I handed out because it was a late submission.
Oh, okay.
Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, that's fine. All right, I'll just read it. You guys have it?
36,
36.
okay.
Okay. Give us 1 second, please.
I have a general question about mediation. Is that, do we know if that's like a one-time thing, or is that something that could potentially be several sessions?
Yeah, I think it depends on the complexity of the referral. They try to get it done in one day. Yeah, so
Thank you.
you're welcome. Ready? Okay. This is CC's 2024-036. The summary of complaint allegations is on April 3rd, 2024. Mr. Parker Logan contacted the National Community Review Board after a road rage incident he experienced while driving on Highway 40 East. He described the individual in a marked patrol vehicle, which was a Jeep Wagner, was tailgating him and other vehicles on the road. The complainant believed that this behavior was dangerous as it could have caused an accident. The violation is adherence to rules, traffic violations, the conduct unbecoming of an employee of the department. The review of the OPA findings is such that on April 24th, 2024, Sergeant Woosley of the OPA contacted complainant to discuss his complaint and gather information. On April 24th, 2024, Sergeant Woosley searched the track AVLS program for any police vehicles that were around or in and around I-40 and I-65 on the date provided between the hours of 0700 and 0900 hours. The track star did not show a Grand Wagner in that area. OPA's report stated that after the preliminary inquiry, the complaint did not rise to the level of a formal investigation and no policy violations were identified, and concluded that no additional investigation was warranted. On April 24th, 2024, they closed the case as a matter of record. Now, if you notice, that's all in one day. The compliance monitor findings was that this was a transfer case from one compliance monitor to another. The complainant emailed on that same day, April 11th, it was emailed to inform that he would like to have the complaint withdrawn. The complainant emailed to inform that he would like to have the complaint withdrawn as he made the complaint in the heat of the moment and believe our efforts could be used towards more serious complaints. On May 20th, the compliance monitor received the completed OPA report file. On July 15th, there was a submission of an administrative closure request, and that was approved, and a letter was emailed to the complainant at that time. So the compliance monitor's conclusion is this: the OPA closed the complaint as a matter of record. Sergeant Woosley stated on April 24th that he contacted the complainant for additional information and was informed that the complainant wanted to rescind the complaint and felt that the investigation efforts could be utilized elsewhere. Our compliance monitor had additional questions since all of this happened on one day. And her contacts to Sergeant Woosley after that went unanswered because he was non-responsive. And so my recommendation was that this matter be closed as requested by the complainant. And in the future, just like I've said previously, it is recommended that OPA respond to requests for additional information within a timely manner, just so that we're ensuring that the complaints are reviewed for accuracy, thoroughness, and completeness in a fair way.
I guess the question I would have is, if our compliance monitor contacts basically the investigating officer for the police department, it goes unanswered. That bothers me a little. I mean, frankly, if I sent a request over and it wasn't answered, I'd send the next request over to the lieutenant or whoever's the supervisor there. I don't disagree with closing it, but the problem is the information that the complainant wanted to rescind the complaint is based on Sergeant Woolsey, and then when I assume questions would be,
There were
to have a
questions.
record of something and you don't get an answer, it just
Right.
seems to me that one is we should have gotten an answer from Sergeant Woolsey, and second, we should have bumped it up to his supervisor.
I think that we have sent information to the supervisor, and we just got some new information back, and what they are basically saying is that, they don't have to respond, until the case is completed, and even once the case is completed, I can kind of read to you what it's saying. It's kind of like they are like, well, we're waiting for the MOU to tell us what to do.
Okay.
It says, as mentioned in the previous emails and discussions, I believe the ongoing MOU discussions are the properly placed to decide on the information that you're requesting. My compliance monitor is asking about cases that were over 50 days. To know the date that the officers are being notified so that we can keep an accurate account of the timeline. And they have, basically said they can't give us that information until they get an MOU.
Any further questions?
Comment. You can call in on a complaint like that, and it goes to the location where you work at. They basically send it to your immediate supervisor, which would probably be your sergeant, and he got to look into it and see what's the contents of it, whether it's valid or not. And if he found it not invalid, then he can need to write something in writing, let them know what his findings are, and that the complainant doesn't want to pursue it, because I think it was kind of a little disturbed in the beginning of the process, but once they thought about it, why they had to change their mind on it. But the immediate supervisor putting himself on the line when he does not do some kind of statement saying that he investigated, he looked into it.
Mm-hmm.
Any
You have a question for Director Fisher. It's along the same lines of this. As I read through all these, they all sound like, in a normal world, it would be a first line supervisor, like Member Holloway said, that would say, I'll handle this. Their sergeant reports to lieutenant. The case never makes it out of the precinct. Now, there may be some other routing system they've got today than they had in the past. But do we know how many, if they allow citizen complaints to the precinct, do we know how many people complain on officers from the precinct level through the police department?
No, that's something that I had talked a little bit about, and I think that we do need to have that information as well. Even in this MOU agreement, I wanted to address that a little bit because that's been my concern. I don't know how many complaints are happening. I mean, we can request the information from OPA, and if the MOU is only focused on OPA and not complaints that come through the precincts at the precinct levels, I don't know exactly how many we are. And it's good for us to have statistical purposes. And so at this point, no, I don't know.
Well, it's certainly, I'm not sure. We may be getting out of our range here a little bit on what we're supposed to do, but it's certainly important for the police department to know on a precinct level what the activity is of complaints, just in case there's some culture shift or something is going on with a detail or a supervisor that's overlooking behavior that's happened in the past.
Right, I agree with you.
So we should know.
We should know.
We should know all the complaints, just the numbers. We don't need the details, but it'd be nice to know. Thank you.
It's a good thing to have this board, because lets the public know they have a recourse, If you don't think you can get something done through the police department, contact us, and so we can follow up on and see where the complaint is going, has anything been done about it? You know, so it's good to have this board.
I appreciate that, because we do have, I've had a couple complaints come through where someone has said, you know, I filed a complaint with the police department, not OPA, but at the precinct level, and they hadn't got the response that they wanted. So now they were, you know, coming to us. And so, you know, but when we get it, we send it to OPA. We don't, you know, have any contact with the precincts. So I think it's a good thing to at least have some type of understanding on how many people are walking into precincts and filing complaints.
We might have to be careful in what we ask for, because I suspect there's an awful lot of complaints that come in at the desk. So I don't know whether, if we do that, we might need to try to quantify exactly which ones we're interested in. Obviously, sexual misconduct, something like that.
You know, Judge, several years ago, Washington, D.C. police looked at this, 4,000 to 5,000 officers, and 75% of the citizen complaints were lodged against 25 officers.
That's a pattern.
That's a pattern.
Okay.
I believe that.
Move for approval then of that one. Do we have a motion? Second.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. New business or announcements? Going once, going twice? It's old American. I have one question. We had the 6-month report that we got, you know, on cases that were more than 6 months, and I noticed we haven't been getting that, but I understand we've got a program, it wasn't sent with this packet, but reports the status of the cases. Are we close to getting that done? Because that's, I think, helpful to the board to know where we are on our cases.
I'm sorry. Please repeat that?
The old, what used to be the 6-month report.
Yeah.
Are we going to start getting that?
Well, we're trying to work on getting our reports up, and so she did create this statistical report because we have been lacking on that one. And like I said, we are using an old system, and the person that was working with it is no longer with us. And so I appreciate Ansley like trying to teach herself how to use that, you know, to a certain degree, because it is kind of like a malfunctioning system. And I don't want to shake it up too much because it's not being hosted. And I think that if we do too many things, it could pass out and be out, and then we wouldn't be able to transfer any of our materials. But I believe that we can get a 6-month tracker for sure, or we can actually create that in just a spreadsheet too.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have to be anything fancy.
Yeah,
but
we
as
could do
board
that.
member,
Yeah, we have a
I kind of
case.
like to know, you know, stuff that's getting some aging, because, I mean,
Yeah.
like these.
Yeah.
These got a lot of age on them
Yes.
before we closed them out, and so I think that report helps on that.
Yeah, and so there's, well, no, these were closed, they just weren't, presented, so they were closed. But anyway, what I was gonna say is, we are now, moving forward on our new case management system. We've already submitted the information, it's been approved, and we've paid them, and so we're trying to get dates, because it's gonna take 6 weeks at least to create a new, system, and 6 to 8 weeks. So that way we'll be able to spit the reports out with no problem. Now, we do have although we keep our information in our IA Pro system, we do have a case tracker as well that's made in Excel, so we could always send that, and you are welcome to look at that. And it has the notations, and it has a lot of information. So if you want that, I could send that to you if she's unable to create the 6-month tracker.
That would be helpful. I'd just
Okay.
like to know when stuff's getting a little age on it.
I did get we've created a time tracking one, and it might be helpful too. I'll look at it and see if we can send that to you so that you could have it.
All right. Anything else? Move we adjourn then.
What? I can't believe it. Just kidding.
All in favor, leave.
Did we have no public comment?
We didn't have a public comment. Nobody knew. She didn't sign up. Did we have any more public comment? Or are we over? It's over? Oh, it's too late? It's
Thank
over.
our audience for attending again as usual, and any of you want to talk to the board members, now's a good time to catch us.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.